I've done several videos in the last week about this subject of the stock market crash and how I think some external influences and internal influences are going to create that crash. Let me start by saying normally on Wednesday or on Thursday, I put out a video. I was doing a series of the 6 stocks that you must own. But the situation has changed very much. I was going to talk about Tesla today because I do believe it is a stock you need to own for the future. But right now, you might need to question that. So I needed I need to push that back a bit and talk today about is China going to affect our stock market? Does the Communist Party of China have an influence on our stock prices? And I believe they do. And I don't believe that most of us recognize the position that we have put ourselves in for our dependence on China to basically provide us with the needs that we have, and thus will have a dramatic effect on our stock market as the situations change in China. And they are changing. They are in the midst of a real estate crisis that is going to create ripples that are already coming towards bondholders of these companies, but it's going to go further than that. And I think it is important that you recognize the importance of China and the Chinese Communist Party to the future of our stock market. And it will remain that way until we make some changes. Do I believe that Washington is totally oblivious to this? No, I don't. I think they know exactly what is going to happen, and they're trying to get it fixed before it really devastates our stock market. And that's what I want to talk about in this video and put off some of the other things about Tesla and whatever, because I think this is important. And I don't think anybody else is talking about it. And whether I'm right or wrong is irrelevant. What is important is that we talk about it and I share my opinion, and then you either call me a crazy old man or say, wow, that's important, and I need to take that into consideration in helping me, and I'm talking about you now, make some good investment decisions, because it's going to be important as we move forward. First of all, this is for education. This is not for financial advice, because I'm not your financial advisor. If you have one, he's licensed in your state, and you meet with him on a regular basis, and he shares this kind of knowledge with you. Yeah, like maybe. So let me get this disclosure that I am not a financial advisor. I am here to educate you and maybe entertain you a little bit. Be right back.
Best of Us Investors presents Carrie Griegmeyer.
I think it's important that you first of all recognize that China has an effect on our stock market. You must give me that the biggest effect on our stock market in the last 2 years was the coronavirus. Where did that come from? It came from China. So therefore, you have to give me that China has affected our stock market in that regard. You must also give me, I hope, that we are having a shortage of semiconductors because we have basically given up the manufacturing of semiconductors to the Chinese manufacturing machine. And thus, Ford has to close plants. General Motors has to close plants because they don't have semiconductors. So yes, that affects our stock market and thus affects your financial well-being. You probably will give me that Evergrande, the largest debt holder or debt producer in China, is up against the wall, being followed by other real estate developers that are affecting the real estate market in China. they're having to discount their properties by 25, in some cases, in some cities, 50%, in order to raise cash to get them sold. And then on top of that, China's Communist Party has stepped in to put limits on them on the amount of debt that they can take on. So in essence, what I'm saying is, even if you as an investor wanted to buy bonds to support Evergrande in the precarious position they're in, the Chinese government won't allow them to issue any bonds. So in that regard, the Chinese Party, the Chinese Communist Party, is affecting the Chinese real estate market, which is affecting the U.S. and foreign bondholders in those bonds that are, in fact, not Chinese issued. They're actually issued out of a shell company in the Grand Caymans. So if you, as a bondholder, want to sue if they become delinquent in 28 days, you got to go sue them in the Grand Caymans. And if you do get a settlement in your favor, you then got to take that settlement to China and present it to the courts in China, who are controlled by the Communist Party, to get your settlement. What do you think your chances are on that? And remember, back in July, I told you, get out of China, because all the companies that you're buying in China, at least 90% of them, are structured this way. And we're going to see how much control you have and how much leverage you have as a bondholder in Evergrande appealing your case in the Cayman Islands. Okay? You need to understand what you own, and you need to understand the Communist Party if you're going to play in their ballpark. And I'm telling you, you're already playing in their ballpark. And you might say, how is that the case? Have you read anything about what Christmas is going to look like? That if you want any popular gifts, you better get them now, because China isn't going to be able to get them to you. So China is going to affect your Christmas. Is that going to affect our stock market? You bet it is. You bet it is. Right now in China, if you've read, you know that many of their manufacturers are shutting down because the price of coal is so high, as well as the Communist Party has come out and said, we have goals for achieving less carbon footprint. And in order to achieve those goals, factories shut down for a week so that we cannot generate so much electricity, and we generate our electricity from coal, and coal is getting expensive. Why is coal getting expensive? Because Australia, who they bought a lot of coal from, basically came out and said, look, you people are responsible for this pandemic, so stand up to it. And the Communist Party said, wait a second, you can't talk to us like that, and shut off their coal shipments. And so that's why, one of the reasons why, you can't buy a new car. Well, how does that really affect your stock market? What if I told you that 45% of General Motors revenues came last year, 43%, from China? Do you own any GM stock? If you do, the Communist Party is controlling the profits of your General Motors stock. Does that sound outrageous? Do you own any Wynn Resorts? You know, that's the casino company. 75% of their revenues come out of the Chinese casinos. Is this an anomaly? Is this just a few of them? No. How about Qualcomm? What if I told you 65% of Qualcomm's revenues are generated out of China? So does that affect your stock portfolio? Let's go a little deeper. How about Micron? 57% of their revenues. One I don't know. OOR, I believe it's VE. 52% of their revenues come out of China. I think you know Texas Instruments, that's 44%. IPG, Photonomics, 43%, and AMD, 39%. As AMD was moving around today in the stock market, did you take into consideration that China is controlling the electricity in the plants that use their technology to create semiconductors? Did you take that into consideration? Did you take into consideration that there's a real estate crisis as you bought Qualcomm this morning? Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Because there's a guy by the name of, he spells his name Xijinping, and I think it's pronounced Xi Jinping. He's the president of China. Do you know how he thinks? Go to Wikipedia and put in China's Communist Party ideology. About halfway down the script in Wikipedia, you will find the thoughts of Xi Jinping relative to socialism and the Chinese Communist Party's ideology. And you're going to find that his concerns are that the Communist Party leadership will control all forms of work in China. The Communist Chinese Party, the CCP, will control all forms of work in China. And Qualcomm's 76% of their revenues come from China. The Chinese Communist Party should take a people-centric approach to the public interest. So if there's any bailing out of these real estate developers and the bondholders, it's not going to be the foreign bondholders. No, you bought those bonds knowing that they were Cayman Island companies. You bought them. You were totally knowledgeable. You knew when you bought NEO, you were buying a Cayman Island company. So don't come to us because we're here to protect our people. You're knowledgeable. You're buying what you want to buy. Don't blame us. Number 4, ideology. That we will develop ideas based on science and for innovative coordination of green, open, and shared development. That's why they're turning off the electricity. They've made a commitment that they will reduce their carbon footprint, and they're going to do it for the betterment of their people. They don't care that you can't get a Ford this month because they don't have semiconductors. Nowhere in these 14 thoughts from Xi is there anything about you. Nowhere. So don't depend upon the largest growth element of the world's economy to be concerned about you. It isn't going to happen. Practice socialist core values. That's Bernie. No. Improve people's livelihood and well-being as the primary goal of development. That's their people, not ours. So is that in your best interest? Is it important that you know that if you're investing in China or if you're investing in Qualcomm or Texas Instruments or General Motors? Is it important that you know this and you put it into your thoughts? Complete national reunification. One of the things, as I read more and more about this, is one of their goals is to avoid what happened to the Soviet Union. Soviet Union used to be the primary Communist Party entity that we concerned ourselves with. and they just basically collapsed. And so what Xi Jinping is doing is learning from their mistakes. He wants you to basically use him as a manufacturing point. Joe and Congress is figuring this out, that we just walked down a path that has left us totally exposed. I mean, we couldn't get masks, we couldn't get respirators. Now we can't get semiconductors. The other thing, and then there's this question about Hong Kong and Macau and Taiwan. Point number 12 is promoting the one country, two system for Hong Kong, Macau, and the eventual complete national reunification. So even though we get most of our semiconductors and a lot from Taiwan, it's on their agenda to bring that all in, to bring Hong Kong, Taiwan, and they haven't mentioned Tibet. I've been to Tibet. There's not a lot of manufacturing going on there. I spent a month in China, a magnificent country, wonderful people. I spent about 3 weeks in Russia. What I saw in Russia was nobody was smiling. What I saw in China was everybody was happy to see me. Everybody was wanting to learn from me, to be a part of me. I had Chinese young people asking me for my email address. They wanted to communicate with me. They wanted to learn more about my country. I didn't see that in the Soviet Union. China wants to play in our playground under their rules. They want us to play in their playground under their rules. They are the fastest growing economy in the world. They have approximately 4 times the number of people, consumers, as we do. They will grow. And if we are going to be affiliated with that growth, we're going to play by their rules. So, is Xi Jinping going to save me from this stock market crash? Only if it's in his best interest, only if it's in his people's best interest. He really doesn't care about me. He really doesn't. So I need to understand that. And I need to determine the amount of exposure that I have to any situations that might evolve that could jeopardize the value of my portfolio. Right now, I only have one major exposure to China that I can determine, and that is Tesla. I tried to sell it yesterday. Tried to sell it at, I think it was $7.94. Didn't get it. Would have been totally out of it. Do I want to own Tesla in the future? Yeah, I do. But not maybe for the next 6 months or a year, because we have put ourselves in a terrible position. We couldn't get masks. We couldn't get respirators. Our supply chain is broken. And until we get it fixed, it's they're determining the rules of the game. They're going to determine how many cars are going to be available. They're going to determine how many Xboxes are available this Christmas. They're going to determine how many electronic Christmas presents you can give to your grandkids this year. Or do they have to wait till the Chinese make them available to you? That's where we're at. And if you believe, like you say in my comments, what happens in China will stay in China, come on. Read, understand, we are in a global economy and we have put ourselves in a very precarious position because we wanted our sneakers cheaper. We wanted Chinese labor, and I'll give you, they are better at manufacturing complicated products. That's why Apple phones are made in China. That's why they aren't. We couldn't do it if we wanted to. So you need to know that. You need to understand it and invest accordingly. Okay. I just think this is so important, and I don't think anybody's talking about it. So I'll continue to talk about it. And if you want to talk personally about it, I do a video chat. Right now we're doing every other Thursday and then every Friday afternoon as the market closes. And if you want to be a part of that, go to bestofusinvestors.com. Give me your email address and I'll send you a link to our Discord and you can become a part of that. I think I'm thinking different than other people, but that's your decision. I'll be talking to you, I'm sure, again tomorrow.